How's it going? If you're watching this, you probably want to know how to build this, which is our flat bank. Now the flat bank comes part of a kit, whether you're doing a delta, a flat bank on its own, or part of a driveway. If it's part of a driveway, this is the box section that you're going to need to know how to build, and we'll explain that later on. This is your flat bank itself. You'll notice that there's a nice angled chamfer on here. That's the bit that strikes the ground so you don't get too much lip action. Also included are two of these, which are CNC cut profiles into which your beams will sit, and there's pre-drilled holes, so it's really, really easy and you can't make a mistake. Also included in your kit are 6 number beams. As you'll notice that one of them is smaller than the other one. I'll explain that later on, but again, really, really simple. You'll see that there's holes drilled into the sides, here and here, all the way down the profiles. What we're gonna do is take our big screws and this bit here, which is a PZ3, just make sure that that fits nice and tight. And we're going to start the screws in every single one of these holes. We're not going to put the screws all the way through, but we're just going to start them in, and that frees up a set of hands when you come to do the next part of it. So you'll see, I'm just going to go in, and I'm just going to start the screw, and that's nice and tight. You don't want to put it in too far so it pokes out the bottom, and you don't want to put it in not enough so it falls over. So there you go, that's both sides done. Now what we need to do is screw the beams in. Now, you're going to get these beams, they're all pre-cut to the right size, and what you're going to do is quite simply push it in, and you'll see that these rebates are slightly larger than the beam. That's just to accommodate any discrepancy that they might come from the factory, and we're going to push this beam tight against this edge as possible. You're going to come, and now you'll see why the screws have been started. You're just going to screw it in, simple as that. Again, in this process, make sure that this profile and the beam that you're screwing are hard to the floor, because you don't want any difference in height between the beam or the profile. So this is the first one. Just a note on screws, you want to make sure that your screws are sitting just below the surface of the ply. Okay, so next up, we've got what we call the L-beam. And that goes here. That creates a lot of rigidity, and it really, really helps when you ride the ramp. So, first things first, just like we did this one, we're gonna get our beam, and we're gonna put the first one into this vertical slot. Grip it, and then screw it. Simple. To form the L, we're going to need another beam. So with this, same process, we're going to put it in, we're going to slide it over that way, grip it, but with these two beams, with the L and this bit, we just want to make sure that there's pressure between the two and there are no gaps. So to do that, I'm just going to grip it like this, and if you just pop in there, you'll see that there are no gaps there. So now, confident that they're together. Easy as that. Okay, I'm going to do these two. That's almost this beaming process finished. The last one that we need to do is here, and you'll notice that that has an angle on it. This is that beam. It's easy to differentiate between the rest because it's got this angle, and you might get this right first time, you might not, but experience, you just want to make sure that it's like that. That is wrong. This is right. Making sure that everything is flat, down on the surface, grip it. Now, this is good enough to lift. We're going to scooch it over and then introduce the second profile. Again, I like to start from this edge and work my way backwards. It's entirely up to you. And there you have it. With the last two of the big screws, we're going to stitch this L-beam together for a bit of extra rigidity. We suggest about a hand's width in and about 1 centimetre down on both edges. That's one, roughly a hand's width, centimetre down. So with the top surface, this edge here is your chamfered edge, and that's going to go at the bottom of the ramp. Now we're just going to sit this on and we're just going to slide it down, and you'll see just as I keep pushing it down, there, that's going to strike the ground, and if you follow it up here, you'll see that that is absolutely flush. Now to screw it in, we're going to have a row of screws on either side and then one down the middle. Screw placement we recommend is again a hand width in from the edge. That will ensure that you don't hit the screws that are already in the beams. So with that in mind, I'm going to get my drill and I'm going to swap the bits over, because for the big screws in here we had a bigger bit, but now we're using the PZ2s, which are a smaller bit. I'll take this one out and I'll replace it with this one, and you'll see that that marries in there lovely. What I've done is I've taken the time to go down each place that the screws go, and I've made tiny little marks, and these are uniform all the way down, and I've also done it in the middle of the ramp. That way I know that the screws are going to be in the right place, and also it actually looks a bit better. The next thing to do is just make sure that, as I showed you earlier, the ramp is in the right place in accordance with the top sheet. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go to my mark. Perfect. As I come down here, I want to make sure that the edge of the top sheet is flush with the profile. That's one side done. I'm going to go to the other side and then come down the middle. Again, make sure that those screws are just below the surface of the ramp. And then now, a row down the middle. And you will see that that's nice and tight, and that is perfectly flat. And there you have it. That is one 2 foot wide, 9-inch high kicker. Really simple, really easy. Last thing you want to do is just go around, do a screw check, make sure there's none poking up. If you do have any little bits of wood here, you can just pull them off with your hands, or if you've got some sandpaper, that would be really cool. Either way, it's ready to shred. We've just finished building the 2 foot flat bank for your driveway or for your Delta or on its own. These come in 2 foot, 4 foot and 6 foot. The principle is exactly the same. The only thing that's different is the length of the beams inside and the amount of screws that get supplied with the kit. Next, what we're going to do is build the box for the driveway. Nice and simple, really easy, really quick. Put that to one side. We've got 2 bits again for 2 different size screws, exactly the same as the banks. 2 different screws, 2 different bits. We're going to start our screws all along here. That's one. Just repeat the process for the second one. I'm going to do that now. So, screws are all loaded, just like the flat bank. It's important to work off a flat surface. So I'm going to put the side profile on this top deck. I'm going to start introducing the beams. We're going to make sure that these beams are flush. You can see that's just poking out a little bit. I just want it in just so it's on the same level. There, that's perfect. Here we go. So with this one, the principle is the same as the one on the other end. We don't want it poking out and we don't want it too far in. You can have it inside the profile, but anything poking out is a no-no. I like to have it flush. Right. There you go. That's one side. On to the next. There you have it. All that's left to do is put the top deck on, and we're going to do 3 rows of screws, 1 on each side, hands width in, and 1 straight down the middle. What I've done is I've put small pencil marks where every single screw is going to go. You'll see one there, tiny little discreet mark, but big enough for the eye to see, all along one side, the other side, and down the middle. Now we're going to start screwing it down. You should only have small screws left, so I've swapped the bit for the small bit and I'm using the small screws. I'm just going to check before I start that everything's nice and flat, so we're flush here and we're flush on this corner. I'm happy that I can start this screw. Put some pressure on it so it doesn't move. And we're just going to bury that just under the surface. Now I'm going to do that all the way along this edge. If you find that it's just coming over one side more than the other, there is room for manoeuvre. So don't worry about it. It's not your fault, it's not our fault, it's just life. Simple as that. Now I'm going to come down here and then back up the middle. So there you have it, your bank, your box. If you've got a delta or a flat bank, obviously you've got 2 of these, the process is exactly the same, you've just got to repeat it. And the box was nice and easy, and as you can hear, and as you'll see, it's solid, so it's going to take a battering. Let's put the 2 together and see it all marrying up. Really, really nice, really simple, really fun to skate. Enjoy yourselves, happy shredding, be safe.